Hey, it's Elizabeth. My new monthly recipe club, The Nourished Table, is for anyone who's ever stood in the kitchen at 5 p.m. thinking, I have no idea what to make. Each month, I send you 5 hand-picked, pre-tested recipes, a done-for-you shopping list, and simple ideas to turn each dish into multiple meals, so you can spend less time cooking and more time eating well. If you're ready for food to just feel taken care of, come join us at elizabethharrisnutrition.com/recipe-club. It's just $20 a month. You can cancel anytime, and you get access to the growing library of recipes each month.
Welcome to Wellness Rebranded.
We know there is so much conflicting health and fitness advice out there.
And you're tired of the wellness fads, endless diets, and impossible standards that make you feel like nothing you do is ever enough.
You're ready to tune into your mind and body and feel empowered around health.
We're the healing trio here to help you redesign your relationships with food, fitness, and yourself.
I'm Elizabeth, registered dietitian and certified intuitive eating counselor.
I'm Maria, licensed mental health therapist.
And I'm Tara, personal trainer.
Together, we're changing the narrative on health away from diet culture, hustle culture, and toxic positivity and towards healthful self-care.
So grab your water bottle, get ready to laugh, learn, and grow.
And let's start rebranding your wellness journey.
If you have ever eaten past a point of fullness and hated yourself for it, or if you've ever said, yes, I've had no self-control, or I'm addicted to food, or I just need more willpower, or if you've ever started over on a Monday, lasted until Wednesday, and felt like a failure by Friday, this episode is for you. Because what if everything you were told about why that happened was wrong? And today we're going to prove it. We're going to talk about an episode that is dear to our hearts. And we're going to learn about what really means to binge and then feel like a failure and that cycle. Elizabeth, I want to know.
I want to know
what you're thinking. Is it that song?
Yeah, I'm actually so eager to talk about this. The reason why it's so close to my heart is as you were going through those things, Maria, I'm thinking about every person that's ever come in and told me one or all of those things. And it is so many people. And I'm like feeling the guilt and the shame and the sense of failure that they all feel. Like it's very real. Like it's faces in my mind of people with such distress told me those things. Makes me sad.
My answer is yes to these 3 questions. Fullness and past the point of fullness and you keep eating. And it's also like disappointment. Like, come on, once again, you're not able to just get it right and have that willpower. It's like, come on, Maria, you can do better than this. So the inner voice.
And it's like, what the heck is wrong with me?
Exactly.
Right? Like feels like you're the only one struggling with those problems, which is so not true. So what we're going to talk about today is the restrict binge cycle, which we have touched on in many episodes, but this is an entire episode where we're really going to break it down and get into it. And I want to be clear about something from the beginning. So we're not talking necessarily about clinical binge eating disorder, which is a diagnosable eating disorder from the DSM. But we are going to talk about the restrict binge cycle more broadly because it shows up so many different ways and different things. So first of all, what is the restrict binge cycle? We should probably just start there. So imagine that you, full of hope and determination and motivation and willpower, decide that you're gonna start a diet, follow a new plan, do Whole30, or just quote unquote be good, right? And then you jump in and immediately you're restricting, right? You're restricting what you eat, when you eat, how much you eat, or however. You are in some way restricting. And then by the end of the day, or it could be a couple weeks, you start to feel deprived, right? You're missing all of the things that you're restricting. And then you start having those intense urges or cravings or frankly hunger. And then before you know it, you're overeating or binging, whatever name you want to give to it. And then what happens when you do that? Then you feel guilty, you feel frustrated with yourself, you feel ashamed, and you maybe sit with that for a while until you can't take it anymore. And then you jump back into the cycle, which is essentially that it's really important to point out when we talk about restriction. And this this is where a lot of people may not think that they're restricting, is that it can be physical restriction where you are actually not allowing yourself to eat certain foods or very much under eating the certain foods, but it can also be mental restriction. So you may be eating the foods, but while you're eating them, you're feeling guilty about eating them. You're telling yourself that you shouldn't be eating them. You're planning that you need to go to the gym and work it off. And in order to truly heal, we have to root out both the physical and the mental restriction. If you're listening and you're thinking, well, like a lot of this is like sounding familiar to me, but I am eating those foods or certain foods, or you feel like you're not physically restricting, you may be mentally restricting. And it's one of the hidden forms of restriction, which is again where a professional can help you spot that when you may not even realize you're doing it. Those thoughts may feel so normalized that you don't even recognize them.
And sometimes, in my case, the restricting doesn't come on purpose. It's like I'm all day from one thing to the other. So I eat like a little snack here, a little snack there. I haven't sat down and have like a decent meal that I need. So then when the time finally comes at 5 p.m., then I feel like I need to eat what I haven't eaten the whole day so I can fuel my body. So it's basically like when you drip, when you're nourishing yourself throughout the day with just drops of it, and then 5 p.m., 6 p.m. comes and you want to open the whole faucet because you're starving. Your body's like, girl, I'm in emergency mode here.
Yeah, and I think that's really an important point, is that often it's happening, not that you're intentionally trying to launch yourself into the restrict binge cycle, but you are intentionally trying to cut back or diet or be good. But sometimes it happens unintentionally, like you're just busy, or I see it a lot when people have ADHD, like they just aren't focused on eating during the day necessarily. They're focused on other things. But either way, there's a biological thing happening, which is you're not getting enough to eat, and then it shows up.
Thinking about launching a podcast or taking yours to the next level? Juliana Barbati and her team are the experts you need. They take care of everything from episode funnel design to production and marketing, so you can focus on creating content that connects. Check out julianabarbati.com and mention that we sent you.
So I think I see this play out in different ways. So sometimes can be you're so good all day, right? That you're restricting all day or eating so good all day. And then when the afternoon or the evening you get home from work, or it's evening and it's sort of like no holds barred, then you're overeating, binging. Sometimes it happens with like I'm on a diet and I can be quote unquote pretty good while I'm on the diet, but eventually that's going to come to an end and then I'm off the diet. So it's like on the diet, off the diet, restrict, overeat, or binge. Sometimes people can be really good all week, right? Like I'm sticking to my guns and sticking to the plan all week, but then on the weekends, I'm overeating, binging, like choosing all the things that I wouldn't normally eat. And then Monday starts the cycle again. Sometimes we said it's unintentional, but for one reason or another, not getting enough, and then comes at the other.
It's like the cheat day. Have you heard of that?
Yeah,
Like
that is
the
some
cheat day on the diet, on diets.
Oh,
like you have this day that you can eat whatever you want. Yeah.
So I think there's lots of different ways that it shows up, but in my mind, it's all still part of that cycle, the like restrict binge cycle. And I think clinically, from working with hundreds and hundreds of people, but also there's a lot of documentation and research out there, it's pretty predictable. We understand how people are going to get in that cycle and what's going to happen and how it's going to play out. And I think maybe what is missing or not always as obvious in the conversations is about what happens when you get to that part in the cycle where you're feeling guilty and gross and frustrated. What do you know to do in that scenario?
Go eat.
Well, maybe, but also you only know to like, oh, see, I knew I couldn't trust myself, or I need to get back on track, quote unquote. And so then you start restricting again. And you're really just ping-ponging back and forth if you use the pendulum, or going around and around the cycle if you use the cycle analogy. So some of the things that I think we're told that I think are wrong. The first one is that you don't have any self-control. Like I binged or overate because I don't have self-control. I don't think that's true at all. I think that there's physiological things happening. There's biology and psychology behind it. Food is fuel. We need food to fuel our bodies. We need a certain number of calories. And if you are under eating, even if it's the low amount of calories that some diet told you to eat, if it's not enough, a lot of things are happening physiologically in your body. Your hunger and satiety hormones are now going to be disrupted. You're probably going to get more of the hunger hormone and less of the satiety hormone. Chemicals get released that change the taste of food so that you're actually more drawn towards hyperpalatable foods. Enzymes get released that trigger fat storage in the body. So that's causing drive to eat more food to make up for it. Psychologically, you feel deprived and restricted, and like we're kind of hardwired to want things that feel off limits. So we just made many of those foods we've probably been trying to avoid feel even more enticing and appealing. And so it's not that you don't have self-control, it's that your body's hardwired for survival. And there's this psychological response to feeling restricted and deprived. So it's not that there's anything wrong with your body, it's actually doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. I actually talk about this with clients that a lot of people come in and they just go, I just feel so lazy. And it's not that we're lazy, it's that we're hardwired to conserve energy, because dating back to our like caveman days, you didn't necessarily want to be expending a ton of energy on something that isn't essential because you never know when you might need that energy later. Right? So same concept.
It's like you're fighting against what your body naturally is asking for.
Yeah.
When you go against that natural cycles that you need the food, you need to protect your energy or save energy.
And it's brilliant marketing by diet culture, right? If they are convinced that there was something wrong with you, then you're going to go look for the next diet, the next plan, the next quote unquote fix.
Okay, hold on 1 second. That's important. Say that again. The idea behind this is that if we make you believe that something is wrong with you, you will keep searching for a new solution.
Yeah.
And those solutions
Are
are
lining
what sell
someone's
the money.
pockets.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea behind diet culture.
But it's a good reminder for our listeners. It's such a good reminder. The more things you see that are wrong with yourself, the more prone and the better victims we're going to be of all this messaging. And that's important to realize. There is nothing wrong with you.
Yep.
And someone's profiting off the belief that there is.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes. Not only in dieting, in almost everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
The patriarchy.
So the next thing that I think we hear a lot is what I was saying a second ago is like when that happens to you, then you just failed and you need to get back on track, right? You need another plan, another diet, another thing to jump you right back into the cycle.
Yeah.
I think this one is tricky because it sounds almost like the solution that you're desperate for, right? Or the recovery language you're looking for, but actually it's just launching you right back into the cycle like we talked about a second ago. It's like failure to acknowledge that you weren't the problem in the first place, the plan was.
Yes.
Another one that I hear a lot is that it's happening because you're addicted to food.
Yeah. I feel like the first time we heard that phrase, addicted to food, was all the way back in the Super Size Me documentary about McDonald's and how the guy ate McDonald's for every single meal for like 30 days and monitored what it did to his body. And his girlfriend at the time was like, you're addicted to this food. And he was like, it's ham, it's not heroin. And so that kind of kicked off the controversy between, is it addictive or are we just in a habit of eating like this?
So this one is tricky. And like I said, there is a lot of controversy around it. There's some people will tell you that food addiction is a real thing and many other people will say that it's not. I think Evelyn Tribole, and we did, if you haven't heard our episode with Evelyn Tribole, definitely go back and listen to it. I forget. Do you know what it was called, Tara? You're the wizard at this.
Informed consent around GLP-1s?
Evelyn is one of the co-creators of intuitive eating and she's just so smart. But she talks a lot about this in various places, but that Yale food addiction score, which a lot of people use to kind of prove addiction, it doesn't account for restriction. So it will ask you about all these behaviors, which you may answer positively to, but it doesn't talk about whether you've been restricting before that. We just talked about the whole cycle. And if you're not controlling for that, then you can't really say that it's an addiction thing. Also, we need food, unlike a lot of other things that people can
Get addicted to.
right? You need food for survival. And you'll hear people say, well, but it lights up certain reward pathways in the brain and all of that kind of stuff. Well, yes, it may, but so does petting a dog or listening to music or any of the things. So it's just really an area of controversy and debate. But I would ask you, if you feel you're addicted to food, ask yourself the question, like, are the foods that I feel like I'm addicted to the ones that I also try to restrict, eliminate, or avoid? Because if they are, then that's really in intuitive eating. It's the principle of making peace with food. Well, have you ever really tried to make peace with those foods? And if you were, I've worked with many, many people who felt like they were addicted to food. And then as they heal their relationship with food and learn how to make peace with it, they realize, oh, I'm actually not addicted to food. And that ice cream that I could have never in a million years thought I could keep in my freezer, now it's actually there and I kind of even forgot about it.
But listen, have you ever, maybe growing up, your mom or your dad said, I don't want you to see that boy anymore or have a relationship with that boy because he's trouble? What was the very first thing that then...
Oh, I'm sneaking out the window.
Exactly, right? I'm like, now I'm dreaming about
I didn't
the
even
boy.
really like that guy, but because you told me, I'm going to go ahead and marry him.
So, yeah, so that you're
going to marry him. Not, I'm going to
True
go
story.
get pizza. I'm actually going to marry him.
But those things, if in your head, the chocolate or whatever that is, the donut, is that boyfriend that you're supposed to not see and not enjoy because he's trouble, then every time you see that donut somewhere, it's like, there he is, right? There's the cute guy I'm not supposed to date. And then it creates more curiosity. And the second you're going to take a piece of that donut or the guy, you're going to go for it, girl, all in, okay? So, yes.
Are we speaking from experience?
And this
Maybe,
is the story
who
of how I
knows?
got divorced.
But listen, it's a good example because once your parents say, oh, the guy's fine, actually, you can date him, marry him. He's like, oh, maybe I don't like that guy as much as I
you guys
thought.
like him? Never mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you heal your relationship with food and there's not so much stuff around the idea of that food specifically, you relax and you're like, oh, okay, now I'm not that desperate for it or I'm not
100%.
just thinking about it all day. Then you can see the guy or not and be okay.
Yeah, that's intense. I totally agree. And that was an excellent way to describe that.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought so.
If I do say so myself, Maria. Okay, so then this one is like similar to what we heard earlier, but a lot of times people think that they need more accountability or they're like, I need more rules. Like, just tell me which foods not to eat or which ones I'm allowed to eat, or I just need a better plan. Like, if I just had a better plan, it wouldn't happen. But that's actually the root cause of the problem in the first place, was not having the self-trust and trying to follow such a rigid, restrictive plan. Like, the solution to the problem can't be the thing that's causing the problem.
Which is why I love your recipe club, Elizabeth, because it's not a plan, but it's not me going, oh my God, it's 5 o'clock. What am I going to eat tonight? It's me going, oh, Elizabeth sent me the recipe and the shopping list. So I have all the things and all I have to do is execute and not think about the things.
Oh, well, I hadn't thought of that, but thank you. And yeah, if you're out there and you want to join the Nourish table, we'll drop the link in the show notes. But something you said did make me think that it's important to point out that a lot of times people think because I'm saying all the things I'm saying and intuitive eating is about listening to your body, that it means you can't have any kind of plan, right? And that's actually not true. I do think that it is very, very helpful to nourish yourself well. In order to nourish yourself well, you have to have some level of intention and forethought and planning involved. Otherwise, it's just haphazard eating. But the difference is having an intention and a strategy and tools versus having a rigid, restrictive plan that makes you feel like I can only do this or I can never do this, or if I veer off of either of those, then I'm doing it wrong and I failed. One is flexible and helpful, and the other one is rigid and restrictive and you can never measure up.
Totally.
Can we go back here for a second second because a thought came to mind when you were talking about self-control around food. Also, if you get used to send yourself a message like, I don't have self-control with food, I don't have self-control with food, then you make it happen. You're telling yourself you don't have self-control with food, and then you don't have self-control with food. It made me think of a friend that she's been doing this since we were little. I've known her since elementary school. You're eating with her, let's say in a restaurant, and she's eating her plate, and then at some point she's like, I shouldn't eat anymore. And then, for example, she grabs her water and pours it in her food. So she actually radically, yes.
Wow.
Yes. So she radically stops eating because she considers that she can stop, that if there's food in front of her and she hasn't finished her plate, she feels that it's time for her to stop eating. In college, in the middle of a sandwich, she would throw the rest away and say, because I don't have control and I might finish the whole thing. Imagine that. I know. It's, first of all, I feel terrible. It hurts.
Terrible about that.
Second of all, I feel bad for the waiters that have to clean up that watery slop.
Third of all, a box would probably also do the trick.
But no, because that belief, that real strong belief that you cannot stop yourself. And she grew up with this idea. So when you think about it, it's like with any kid, if you make them believe that they're lazy or you make them believe they're not good at math, if you make yourself believe that you have no control with food, that the behavior is going to show. Your belief is going to drive your behavior.
You're almost like
So-
manifesting
Yeah.
it, right? If you believe
Our brain
it.
is great at convincing us.
Yeah, and therefore you behave based on what you're thinking. So
Yeah, and I would hope that if there's anyone out there that feels like that, I just want to send a message of hope that no matter how long you've been living like
Correct.
that or had that belief, it doesn't make it true. And if you feel like, well, but I've tried to have more control, it probably would be hard to have more control without doing the work of healing your relationship with food first and understanding all the things that are contributing to that belief in the first place. And so there would be a lot of unlearning. That it's an invitation to unlearn a lot of the things you've been taught and then heal so that you can get to a place where you know you can trust yourself with the food, because that makes me sad to know that people feel that way, and many people do. I think the other kind of thing that diet culture tells us about restricting and binging that I really want to call out is that the shame that gets put on us of like, there's something wrong with you if you're doing this, if you experience this, and the belief that you just obviously don't want it bad enough or that there's something wrong with you. It's not true and it's not helpful. And again, someone's profiting off of that belief because you're going to be stuck in the cycle of continuing to try. And so I just want anyone to know that no matter where in the spectrum of like overeating or intense cravings or binging that you're experiencing, you absolutely do not have to feel ashamed or guilty when that happens. And if you do, that's just launching you back into the restrict binge cycle, right? So when you experience the binge or the overeating, the very most helpful thing that you can do for yourself is to offer yourself self-compassion. And if you're not sure how to do that, we have an entire episode about self-compassion and how to practice it that we'll link in the show notes. But in my opinion, that's the best thing that you can do is offer yourself lots and lots of self-compassion for when it happens. Practice your tools to regulate your nervous system and stress management and go through that. And separately, you can work on healing your relationship with food.
We actually have an episode about that. Episode 45, signs that your relationship with food needs healing.
Yeah,
So
if you're wondering or
if you're wondering,
still
go
not
ahead and
sure.
listen to that.
In my opinion, people that are stuck in the dieting cycle or stuck in this restrict binge cycle, they want it more than anyone I know. Those are the people that have worked the hardest to try to control their eating for however long you've been stuck in that cycle. You're a really, really, really good dieter. I know that about you without even meeting you. It's just that the dieting and the plan.
It's not you, it's them.
Yeah, it's not meant to work. It failed you. You didn't fail it, failed you.
Because if it works, you don't need the diet anymore, right? You're not spending the money on the things.
And if it worked, there wouldn't be hundreds of millions of people who have been stuck in the cycle and experienced the same failures and frustrations. So,
If you find yourself in the binge restrict cycle, Elizabeth is amazing at helping people free themselves from it.
and that it's important to do that work because it can feel differently when you're out of that cycle.
yeah, I mean, I guess that's one thing that I would say is the peace and the confidence and the way that it changes your life when you're able to get out of that cycle and get rid of that guilt and the shame and the stress and the constant striving time for it.
The mental load of managing a diet is heavy.
And emotional, mental, emotional.
Yeah. And so to lift that is just such a burden lifted. And then all of that energy and all of that bandwidth and all of those mental resources, you can actually put to things that matter to you and more meaningful things than trying to control the size of your body. And it will change your life. So I guess if you're listening, I'm not really talking solutions so much in this episode, although the solution really is to get out of the restrict binge cycle, is to stop the restriction that starts the cycle. And I want to acknowledge that there's so much fear involved in that. There's so much self-doubt. There's so much overwhelm of, I've done this so long, I would have absolutely no idea where to even start. And I just want to kind of normalize that feeling and say that, of course you feel that way. And that's why working with someone who is skilled in intuitive eating and healing your relationship with food is so powerful, because we know the hurdles and the roadblocks you're going to face before you do. And also throughout the process, the sitting with the discomfort of the unknowns of how it's going to work out. If you use the pendulum analogy, when you restrict and overeat at one end of the pendulum, when you stop restricting, the pendulum doesn't just drop to the middle, right? It takes a while to volley back and forth and settle out in the middle. And having someone by your side as that pendulum settles out is so, so critical. So one great first step that people could take, I actually have a free quiz. It's called What Type of Eater Are You? And it might help you identify some of your tendencies or some of like your personal things that are getting in your way and making it harder for you. And so I'll drop the link to that in the show notes as well. Like, take that free quiz, because not only might it help you on its own have an aha moment about some of your eating patterns, but then I actually recommend, based on that, some simple next steps that you can take. And then of course, reach out to me if you want help healing your relationship with food, or even if you just want to understand more about the restrict binge cycle or have some safe place to ask your questions about getting out of it.
If this episode resonated with you, you can hear more about this topic in all the way back to episode 12. Ready to find food freedom, how to remove conditions on eating, break the cycle of binge eating, and make peace with food. So if this was something that interested you, go listen to that one and then go leave us a review. That really is helpful to us. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you for listening. If you want to connect with me outside of this podcast, you can find me on Instagram at coaching_therapist.
I'm Elizabeth. You can find me at Elizabeth Harris Nutrition, or in my Facebook group, Health and Healing with Intuitive Eating.
And I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Tara DeLeon Fitness. Guys, if you loved this episode or any of our other episodes, we would love it if you would leave us a review on Apple Podcast. It really, really helps us get the non-diet word out to the rest of the world. So please leave us a review.
Yes, thank you.